That's good. Just living in perfect harmony. We're talking salt and pepper, Sammy and Dean, Stevie and me are Peachy King.
Captain, what is black and white and red all over?
I don't know, Exo. What is black and white and red all over?
This people's stupid homeworld when they're drenched in their own blood. Well, wait, I have more. What's black and white?
Newspaper?
And green underneath.
What? What's black and white and green underneath?
Frank Gorshin wearing his Riddler outfit underneath these stupid jumpsuits.
Hey, come on.
No. Actually, it was pretty sweet. Although, I mean, they couldn't do anything to get the grease out of the sheen out of the grease of the face paint. They're so shiny.
Oh, come on. It's a lot of fun. Hey, yes, everyone. Welcome back to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. I'm your host, Captain Matt Ross, accompanied by the much happy, to see this episode, Exo Michael Pontone. How we doing tonight, Mike?
Not bad. Got a couple of work deadlines out the way. Happy to be back with my captain. We're slowly working on the video, which I'm very excited about. But we'll have it to you. I'm putting a decree out by the end of August. We shall have a video.
Okay. We will try and do that. We even bought microphones and green screen, so we're getting all excited. And also, Mike's also happy to hear because he's told me in the office that season 3 of the original series is a slog. I warned him.
Yeah.
It's true. It is a slog. But this is actually one of the better episodes that we're covering tonight. It's Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Everyone knows this one. The on the nose or in your face, puns intended, black and white episode talking about racism between the half black and half white episode of the Aliens, and ably played by Frank Gorshin and Lou Antonio as the Commissioner Beale and Lokai. I really like this episode. Mike, what's your initial impressions? Or I assume you've seen this one?
Jumping all the way. Yes, this is actually one of the very few ones that I had seen as a wee lad. It's absolutely iconic. It's visually striking. It captures the 60s cultural revolution that was going on, and race being a hot topic, and obviously demonstrated the very subtle political undertones of the writers at the time, unlike the very unsubtle political overtones of the writers in modern Trek. You ever hear about subtlety, Matt? Well, Alan Kurtzman hasn't.
Yeah, neither is J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, we're going to get into, obviously, the racial aspect of it. But on the flip side, I really appreciated that it wasn't overly overt. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a direct parallel to anything going on Earth. It's more just, look how silly it is to hate someone based on the way their skin looks. And it made me get into what other episodes of Star Trek in our Star Trek history have focused on racial conflict. What immediately comes to mind is Ben Sisko and his flashbacks as the 1950s sci-fi writer.
Yeah, that's Beyond the Farthest Star. That's a very on your nose racial issue. I would agree with that.
Which I thought was cool because, listen, the fact that Benjamin Sisko is black was very incidentally referenced, very rarely referenced as being a thing, a defining aspect throughout the entire series. So I figured, in 7 seasons of 26 episodes or however many it is, they could have a couple of episodes devoted to that.
Yeah. I mean, well, you also have in Next Generation, it not necessarily racial, but allegories to gay, which could also be considered transsexual now, in The Outcast, where Commander Riker falls in love with a race of, or a woman or man or whatever, a non-sexual entity of this planet where there is no gender. Everyone's kind of both or neither. So there's that. But I would say this is a little bit in your face. I mean, it's obvious this is talking about racial overtones and how ridiculous it is to make fun of people because of their color or creed. And Star Trek has always taken a stance like that. Some people say the new stuff is very woke and that Star Trek was never woke but always has been. That's not really the issue. The issue is writing with allegory is better, although this episode is very unsubtle when you get down to it. When you get to the newer shows, it's not only not subtle, it's poorly, I guess you would say, formulated and put together. There's a little bit, what I would say, an overcorrection, no allegory, and it just becomes a slog and almost like preachy.
Yeah, let's
this is
dissect
preachy.
that. Why is it that people can smell a bad politically motivated writing and script, and it puts you off because you don't want to be preached to, right? But also it's because there's something about it. If it's done poorly, which a lot of modern Trek does, the political message eclipses the drama. Characters don't act in a way that normal people do in order to insert this preachy message. Here we're anchored by the Federation that is made up of very progressive individuals who have a violent past, who have sloughed it all off, who obviously, when faced with kind of some like a reminder of their past, are looking at it like with a disdain. Do you know? It's as if someone came up to us and I don't know, started to try to preach the heliocentric theory or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the ideal that Roddenberry was trying to preach, of that humanity has grown off and thrown off its childish prejudices and hatreds and is working together as a team and has gotten together with other like-minded races for the most part, not perfectly, but have thrown off their more, I get, racist or hateful stories or backgrounds to come together as a unit and work as best as possible. The newer stuff is just consistently saying, you know what's wrong? This reminds me of, and then they will actually, and quite literally, like in Strange New Worlds, they will actually access the 2016 election in one episode, and they openly state, it makes it very difficult. Now, here in the United States, it might hit a little bit closer to home, but Star Trek is a U.S.-centric type of thing with a U.S. as the Federation. But the problem is that it comes down to, as always, is writing. They're stiff, and it doesn't make sense. Also, there's a bad thing about the new Star Treks is there's also a lack of science fiction. Science. Things are waved away like magic, and an over-reliance on CGI. Although we're watching the enhanced version, and there is a lot of CGI.
That was pretty bad CGI.
I think you could... Yeah, some of it is. But yeah. But I mean, like, this over here, I enjoy it for the story. And I have yet to find a new Trek story like, wow, I can't get behind it. Like, I have not rewatched anything except to pull a clip if I have to from Discovery or Strange New Worlds or Picard. Definitely Picard.
I've rewatched Picard season 3 several times. I love that show.
Well, Star Trek Picard season 3 is fine, but it's good. Like it's like giving a man a glass of water after being in a desert. It's the best glass of water you've ever had.
That is
season
correct.
3
That's
is
true.
So that's not like the best thing ever.
Listen, go back and look at a lot of Star Trek TNG. There are some crappy episodes. It's not all.
Oh, there are a lot of crappy episodes.
Right, in every single one. I dare say that maybe the most consistent series with the fewest crappy episodes is probably Deep Space Nine. But yes,
I will give you that. I will give you that Picard season 3 is the best of the lot. Actually, the best out of the new stuff is the kids show, Star Trek Prodigy, which is bizarre because it's supposed to be for young children.
Can you remind us what the Federation does again? The United Federation of Planets. An interstellar union of different worlds and species with shared principles of universal liberty, rights, and equality.
And yet it has more adult themes than anything. And what's bizarre also is that Star Trek was never written to be a kid show. It was written for everyone to watch.
Yeah,
just because younger people liked it.
Mike Stokasa calls out that like a lot of the episodes kind of function more like a horror movie. or a
Yeah.
horror anthology than anything else.
Well, if you think about this, this is also kind of sort of a horror in itself. We're talking about just, I'm going to jump to the end, genocide. I mean, it's really, or a Holocaust.
There is no evidence of natural disaster, yet there are vast numbers of unburied corpses in all cities.
It's really disturbing, the whole story, but it's an allegory to remind the viewers who are watching this of how our differences, if we don't learn from them, can be our own destruction. But I'm gonna make a guess here that you like this episode. Is that a fair assessment, Mike?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah,
It has
it's better than a lot of the
problems.
things.
It's
Oh, yeah.
sloppy in places.
I'll give you that. But for season 3, I think this is one of the best ones of season 3. So just to get into it, let's tell you a little bit about it. It was written by a guy named Oliver Crawford originally, but the story was actually, for the teleplay, was written by Gene L. Kuhn again as Lee Cronin, with the help of Judd Taylor, who was also the director. So again, we got the Gene Kuhn connection in here.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Kuhn, as you know, is the glue that basically holds Star Trek together and came up with the ideas like a federation and kind of a continuity and everything that Roddenberry didn't come up with. So that's probably why this flows a little bit better. But here, let me read you the NBC press release. It says, for the press release is dated December 20th, 1968, Frank Gorshin is guest star as Beale, one of 2 aliens who threaten to explode the Enterprise in their battle with each other, climaxing 50,000 years of hatred in Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. That's close enough. You know, I only read a little bit of that. What do you think of that description? Pretty spot on, would you say?
Sure. I mean, here, let's get into it. I got
Okay.
weird questions, and I don't know why they made these choices as writing, and it kind of keeps it from being a higher rated episode. But okay, we have the ship pulling in this stolen vessel. Cool, interesting. I really like Lokai acting like kind of a good fugitive, a well-rehearsed fugitive, knowing not to talk to people, knowing that they can't really force him to do anything. And I think getting the sense that the Federation is a pretty lawful organization. They're not going to like torture him, right? Or have anything squeezed out of him. I really like the whole sequence with Beale, like coming up on this invisible ship.
Something out there can't be seen. Explanation? None. Completely elusive. In fact, it's invisible.
And then just appearing as it disintegrates. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're forgetting that this is alien technology. Like, even the Federation doesn't exactly know what is out there. And this was a piece of, I don't know, ethereal, other dimensional spacecraft. The thing that starts to get me here, I'm like, and this is hearkening to the end of the episode, which I don't like, when the guy's like, I've been chasing him for 50,000 of your years. I'm like, wait, what? No.
For 50,000 of your terrestrial years, I have been pursuing Lokai through the galaxy. I have not traveled this far, this long, only to give him up now.
These people are not carrying themselves like immortal beings with that type of wisdom. I don't know why they made that. I know why they made that choice, because they wanted to have the, horrific ending that it's been a long time since they've been back and the world's been destroyed, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their character. They have an urgency about them where they've not been chasing each other for 50,000 years and just caught up. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the 50,000 years is a little ridiculous. You would think that, especially with the spaceship that Commissioner Beale has, he should be able to catch Lokai, considering that he was in a slow-moving shuttle. By the way, the reason why Beale's ship is invisible is because they were trying to save a buck. Not a surprise.
Sure, but at least here's the thing. Do they save a buck by doing something stupid and saying the monitor's not working, right?
Yeah.
Or
now,
do they save a buck by being like, well, there's some weird ethereal ship that's coming?
Now, the weird ethereal ship is what works, but it was obvious what it's for. But it really added a nice touch to make these 2 aliens very, very mysterious. It's also interesting when they're there. All the I guess us monotones we're staring at them, like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are leaning over them. And you could still, I like that sort of, I guess, ribbing of Spock to McCoy. Hey, you know he's not human, but you're still filling him with your potions.
I've never worked on anyone like him or anything like it.
Yet you are pumping him full of your noxious potions as if he were a human.
When in doubt, the book prevails, Mr. Spock.
I love that.
Yeah,
At the
I
beginning,
know. And that's like a little
you know.
Fugazi too, where, I guess that the Doctor thinks that he has essentially a common idea about how all humanoids work, which is kind of true. And then at the same time, later on, in my favorite movie of all time, favorite Star Trek movie of all time, Undiscovered Country, he fails to save the Klingon Chancellor, noting that he doesn't know his anatomy.
That's true. He doesn't know Klingon anatomy. But that thing in that sickbay is where we first hear Lokai talk. In my notes, I called him the Space Charon, because when Captain Kirk asked him, so what were you doing? I'm not going to answer your questions.
Yeah, I know. Annoying. I wanted to slap him.
Well, I do know that you made off with a ship that didn't belong to you. I do not make off with things. My need gave me the right to use the ship.
It reminded me of some of the people that we are usually against, but it was rather humorous to me about how he already had a self-righteous feeling when we don't even know what the conflict is. All we know is that he stole a shuttlecraft, and that's it. It's not until we get to see it till our next surprise where Commissioner Beale comes on, and as you said, it's the Riddler, which is awesome, I think. That we see the difference.
I like Beale more. I'm sorry.
I'm
hoping I didn't pick
you fascist.
I was about to say. I'm like, I am hoping that I didn't pick the Klansmen in this conflict, but
what's interesting, they're both extremes of both views. Even Spock points that out. They are so diametrically opposed to everything what the other one stands for, Beale being law and order, and Lokai being freedom for his people.
Fascinating. Two irrevocably hostile humanoids.
But when you saw them, when I first saw this when I was a wee lad, I didn't notice a difference either, even though they're painted on opposite sides.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it didn't really mean anything, just like our characters. Like, so you're black on this side and white on the other. It really didn't matter. And that's what I think is well carried through on this. It's an interesting take. What about you? Any did you have any pickup of that when they first came on? You're like, oh, I see it already? Or
no,
is that only now?
I mean, again, first of all, this is like one of these weird pieces of pop culture that was ingrained in my brain prior to me seeing it. For some reason, I didn't know much about the original series, but I knew that there were black and white guys who were angry at each other because one side, each one had a different black and white side.
Yeah.
So,
but it's just like the cookie. They got to get together.
Yes, exactly. If they all looked to the cookie.
Nothing mixes better than vanilla and chocolate. And yet still somehow racial harmony eludes us. If people would only look to the cookie, all our problems would be solved.
Yeah.
That being said, this episode, Captain, would have been better as a half hour. It doesn't quite have enough plot. More should have happened with these two, other than, by the 20-minute mark, by the end of there are 5 acts, right? By the end of the second act, they've confronted each other. And then you got the third and fourth act of them kind of bickering and trying to strafe around the ship, and the Federation trying to figure out what to do with them until the final conflict. It's a bit of a slog in there, personally.
Well, I understand what you're saying. Like, did they necessarily need the mission to Arianis? If you didn't have the mission to Arianis, you wouldn't have Beale's superpowers, if you will, taking over the ship.
Right.
Or, the most iconic thing from this episode, besides the black and white, the self-destruct sequence, which has been copied in, everything.
Destruct sequence 1, code 1, 1A.
And when I mean everything, it's not just in Star Trek. Also, Alien has the self-destruct sequence, which was also semi-copied off of this.
The ship will detonate in T-minus 10, Override automatic detonation expires in T-minus 5 minutes.
But was it necessary? No. Even the self-destruct sequence, was that necessary? Well, if they didn't have the Arianas mission, I guess they wouldn't have the self-destruct sequence, right?
Sure.
But I know what you're saying. It could have been a half hour with their, or maybe 45. Well, it is 40 minutes, but with their conflict taken more to the front of the screen, although that does happen. And for better or worse, I guess you could say we haven't learned anything, because a lot of the talking points they espouse over oppression and order are still heard today.
Of course.
And I find that fascinating.
Well, I mean, it's always going to be the struggle about governance and humanity. I was talking with, I was God, we're going to get political here. Very, very quickly. I was just like talking with my paralegals, and they were asking me about my buddy who's Ukrainian, because they've heard a lot about. And I was like, when that first happened, he was kind of on Putin's side. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm fascinated too. He's Ukrainian. They're like, why? And he's like, he is one of these people who's like, you can't trust people, because people means everyone has an opinion, and idiots are sometimes going to make decisions because there are more idiots than smart people. Do you know what I mean? Like the basic tenets of authoritarianism, which to us living in the Western world, the Western democratic free world, it's like, well, no, it's an affront to our basic understanding of human morals. But to a lot of other people, it is the way to lead. The alternative is chaos.
Well, it's just kind of almost like the line from Men in Black. A person is smart, people are panicky, and make poor decisions. That's quite true.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
Yeah, darn tootin'.
Yeah, and we see that all the time, every day. But in our conflict here, I like the way they express about how they're so different. I also find it in this story is that it takes a while for you to hear what their actual conflict is over their skin color. You don't know that for like the first 2 acts of the of the show. That's really bizarre. But there's some things in here just in the initial writing. This was not originally a racial story. This was actually between an angel chasing a demon. So even though our story did say it. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense at the 50,000 years.
Yes, doesn't it? How about the planet Charon? I'm just thinking about that. Charon. And Lokai means harmony, by the way.
Oh.
I think that's just by luck. Bele means nothing. But it's the race relations thing wasn't added until the end with Judd Taylor. The way this was originally written, it was being angels chasing a demon, and the big fear they had is NBC wouldn't like it because it had too many religious overtones. However, NBC actually kind of liked it, but Judd Taylor, the director and co-writer with Gene Kuhn, said, let's just change it all, and they did. So they actually had rewrote this 8 times, and it was towards the end that they came up with this idea of racial.
That was much better. That was a good idea. They forgot to change the rest of the episode to make it fit, but yeah, they got there. Religion and Trek rarely go together, except devils do.
You are not Theklar. But I am the guardian of Greythor, where the dishonored go and they die.
It also is, you also have in the animated series, you have the magics of Megas 2. That also is very similar to the original idea, but you'll see that later. And Gene Roddenberry came up with this idea as well. He wanted to do something with angels, but he also wanted to do something where they came to almost another parallel planet, try not to sigh, where black people were in the superior and whites were slaves. That's what they wanted to do. But to me, I think part of the other problem with this, with the idea with the angel and the demons, it's too similar to the idea of Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, which came out in 1953.
Never read it.
It's basically an alien comes down that hides itself. Here's a spoiler from 1953, and the aliens look just like demons as humans evolve, and they can't get out of that form, and that's where the idea of demons came from aliens visiting us. They just look like demons, but they're not demons. They're just, that's the way they're shaped. So I think that also did this as well. But yeah, I agree with you. It is kind of like Devil's Due, but I still like the way they are. In the original idea of the story, it ends with everyone is kumbaya and happy together, and everyone works it out. And Judd Taylor said, "Nah, that sucks." So
yes, it does.
Give it this
good
really
call.
dark ending.
That listen, it was a great dark ending. They had to work it out a little bit better. They have to go to the drawing board. Maybe that they've not been chasing each other. Or how about this? Can I fix the episode?
Sure.
So, they each made off in experimental ships, right? So there was time dilation because they were traveling faster, way faster than anyone on their home, and it was not warp technology, right? Warp technology accounts for time dilation. This was just, conventional thrusters, whatever you want to call it. So they're saying by the time they get back, 50,000 years would have passed. And then they see that it's been, some hellscape, that everything has been destroyed due to their infighting. And they decide to be the last people to duke it out in a race war. Like, that would have at least had some sort of, it would have matched their personalities. I did like the symbolism, not the symbolism, the scenery of the burning planet. It reminded me a lot of like a good Twilight Zone episode.
You mean the superimposed burning buildings on top of when they're running
silly,
at the end?
But I kind of dug it.
You want to know something? They added that at the last minute. There was nothing there, but they said, we got to put something here because watching these guys just run kind of spastically through the hallways isn't going to cut it.
Good call.
There's also a funny outtake since it's, it's not like the Enterprise actually exists. At least that's what they tell us. But they actually run into each other at one point. And Frank Garsham says to Lou, "You dumbass." I think I might put that on the in our community page. But I like Frank Gorshin in this a lot. What do you think as him as the bad guy?
Frank Gorshin's a pro, man. I mean, I grew up watching him as the Riddler on Batman 66, and he had such frenetic energy, and he was so fit in a way that modern people just are never able to be. No one is as skinny and muscular as Frank Gorshin was in 1966, hopping around in a green leotard. It just doesn't exist. No, he ended up having a really good long career as well.
Yeah, he was a stand-up comedian. He did impressions of people. You can find them on YouTube. They're actually pretty great.
Huh.
He was at this time experiencing pop celebrity, so to get him on the show was a coup, but he blew half the budget for casting. He actually cost $2,500 in 1968, and no, we're not going to have you guess what it actually is, but in today's dollars, for the 5 days of shooting, he earned $24,000 for 5 days, or less, actually. But I mean, considering his acting and all the makeup he had to go through, I guess he's worth it. His co-star, Lou Antonio, you may not have seen him. He was in a bunch of shows. He was even in Cool Hand Luke, but he later became a director. And in fact, he directed William Shatner in an episode of Boston Legal, if I recall correctly, which I find hilarious.
Good for him.
So, he did a lot of things. So it's a lot different, but to see him out of his makeup with a regular head of hair not slicked back, it's like a little bit jarring because that doesn't look like who I think he is.
What
do you think?
Okay, go on.
With his hair slicked back. I was just going to say that. What do you think of him speechifying around the ship? Did you think that was in character, or what did you think, like the way Spock was spying on them? Anything about that? Or
again, just taking up a little bit of time. Doesn't really mean anything. It's more of a and then as opposed to because. Do you know that rule of writing?
Yes.
So
yes,
just nothing really moving along too much. Again, a very anemic middle. Good setup, Good ending.
Mm-hmm.
Not too much for the characters to do. They needed a B story or a subplot.
Well, I just want to point out that when Spock is listening in the conference room, there's two things that I find humorous. One, the door is half open. Since the door is automatically open and close all the time, you always wonder about that. But you actually hear Chekhov's voice. He was actually ADR'd in. He wasn't actually on the studio that day, so you never see him. And so I find that his lines actually added in after everything is done because he just wasn't there. But that aside, I agree with you. It needed something more. The thing that I think they were going for their big pieces is Arianis, which you don't really see anything, and that self-destruct sequence, which is a really clunky way to blow up the Enterprise if you think about it.
Yeah. Not the best thing.
You need 3 people. Yeah.
But you don't want it to be, happen accidentally.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and it's only 30 seconds. Wow.
Well, I think that you could
insane.
set it to whatever you wanted, right?
Well, yeah, but this time you don't know that. And the first time where you see them set the time limit on the self-destruct is actually in TNG in 1100110. They say 20 minutes. They set the self-destruct.
So let's think of all the. Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say I was gonna put there's a YouTube video showing all the self-destructs in Star Trek. It's actually pretty well done. I'll put that on the community
I can think
page,
of Search for Spock. I can think of First Contact. God, do I know any others?
Well, Voyager does it all the time. What's interesting about Voyager is that in every one of these episodes, there's always at least 2 officers doing it. In Voyager, Janeway's the only command officer with that access. So every time there's a self-destruct episode, she's the only one turning it on and off.
Well, I can tell you why I think that's it's because the rest of her senior staff was dead. Everyone else
but then she gets a new senior staff.
But
right, she could have given them.
Whatever. I think that might be actually I disagree with you, Captain, because look at it like this. If you could just have a captain, one person, be tortured into giving access to other people in order to to do the self-destruct, what keeps someone from just torturing a captain into giving someone else the authority? I guess it could just
No. I don't mean
go on.
I don't mean give full authority. I mean share it, have several code members at the same time. She's the only one that can turn it on and off.
She was
so why not share it with her new? Yes, and that also feeds into her megalomania psychosis throughout the whole thing. SF Debris always it's like, let's kill everybody. That's Janeway.
Yeah.
She's not happy unless, if she doesn't have her coffee, you better watch it.
Oh, man. Shout out to SF Debris. I used to watch that guy 20 years ago. Love him.
He's come back a little bit on YouTube just in case anyone's interested.
I've been watching his new stuff. I can't believe I don't like his jokes sometimes. He gets a little too silly, but his analysis is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. Well, in this, there's really not much else I could think of for his analysis. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We've got 2 racial groups. I do like the one thing I find humorous to me. Beale has already threatened them, has taken them to the edge of blowing up the Enterprise, and yet they're having a very cordial dinner in the next scene.
Sloppy writing.
It's
not only
a
that,
little strange.
This is after 50,000 years, and he's still angry. But then he gets over it and has dinner with the guy.
He has dinner. No. He has dinner with Kirk and Spock, and they're like, "All right, so we'll wait for the Federation to tell us whether or not you can take him out." But it's very interesting. They use due process. Why that's such a hot button topic all of a sudden in our country during this year? That's only wiser minds or less wise minds know. I do that little banter back and forth of the only thing they agree on is that Lokai stole a shuttlecraft. Everything else is pointless. Even though Lokai tries to bait everybody into seeing his way and insult them, none of them take the bait. Spock tells them a vignette about Vulcan. Kirk doesn't rise to the occasion saying, well, we're better than you. And I think that's well done overall with the acting in this. So that's mainly the story. And it's a really kind of quick 1, 2, 3 story. They get to Charon, and I like the enhanced version of Charon. Originally, you just saw a ball, but I like this where you could see fires on the planet. That's basically it. You see that, and everyone's dead.
My people. All dead? Yes, Commissioner. All of them.
No one alive?
None at all, sir.
That reveal I thought was pretty horrific. Watching
Creepy,
you.
of course, emotionally impactful, logistically impossible.
Well, why would you say that? I mean, they could possibly have killed each other to the last.
I know, no, but again, that these people have been away for so long that this happened. It's clunky. They would have to. They would have to be like an angel and the demon. They would have had to be on a different level.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's again, they changed the story in one hand and made it better, but they forgot to fix it around. It's like you. I don't know. It's like you built a walkway, a better walkway, but you forgot that it goes around a non-existent pond. Oh, that's a bad analogy. You know what I'm trying to say.
I got
Let's get the ratings.
All right. Well, just one last thing. Here's a question for you. Does the Federation go back to Charon and take all their tech? Because that's where the stealth ships are. Wouldn't that be a great idea? They're not using it. Why don't we go over there?
No, the whole thing is destroyed.
Yeah, I know that, but it'd be like, we should just do it. But let's, instead of going to ratings, let's talk about costs. So, how much, Mike, do you think this costs in $1968?
Considering that there were not many special effects, small cast but guest stars, a little extra money for Frank Gorshin, I'm gonna say $183,000.
Really close. It's $177,012.
Not very
That's
close
actually,
at all.
well, I mean, it's closer than your last guess, but I mean, that's under budget, believe it or not. And it is $1,704,620.47 in 2026. So there you go. One of the things that if you listen carefully, they reused music. The shuttlecraft in the beginning is from the Galileo 7. There's really the only special effects that were added were like the force fields that Bele and Lokai have around them when they are being shot at by security guards in the phaser blast. But otherwise, this is a really low cost type of thing. A bottle show is what this is actually noted as, because they're all on already made sets. The planet you don't really see. So they didn't really have an issue. But let's just talk about, like you said, let's get to the ratings. So, Mike, on our scientific 1 to 10 scale, what are you going to give? Let that be your last Battlefield.
All right. I'm torn between two numbers. It does the thing that I hate a lot in this show and the TOS, in that it just is underwritten and there's not enough good concept. I'm going to give it a 6.
Wow.
Although I know at the end of the day, I was like, good concept, but just that's all they had. And I'm like, the acting was good and the ending was good, and that kept it up. But I'm like, again, thin writing and a little sloppy. Oh God, but hold on. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give it a 6.
All right.
It wasn't that enjoyable.
Oh, I guess you're just, a hater. I give it a 9.
A 9?
Yeah, I really enjoy this episode. It carries through to me all the Star Trek ideals of trying to get past this childish nature of racism and hatred that makes no sense. I like the acting. I actually do like the self-destruct sequence, although I think the mission to Arianas is a waste of time. And I like the end of getting to Charon and finding out it's all destroyed in either version, both the standard definition version where it's just a yellow ball to this where we get to see like fires raging on the planet. I also like the ending where they're saying like the hate is all they have left, which to me explains why they all hate each other or why they consistently chase each other for all those years. I agree with you. There are a lot of weaknesses, but I overlook it because I enjoy the story the most.
Planet's dead. Does it matter now which one's right?
Not to Lokai and Bele. All that matters to them is their hate.
Do you suppose that's all they ever had, sir?
No, but that's all they have left.
So there we are. I give it a 9. Mike gives it a 6.
A
And that's
9. This
a 9.
thin story.
Yeah.
Nothing really happened in the middle.
For me, it was worth it. I mean, I gotta give it a 9. I actually
All right.
enjoyed the story that much. That's the way it is. I mean, if I really push it, I mean, I could go to an 8, but then I'd be, I'm gonna
So
I'm
here's
gonna
the
stick
thing:
with
I
a
was
9.
almost a 7. You were almost an 8. So you're but each of us nudged in different directions, which I guess makes a lot of sense.
There we go. And I guess that just means that you and I are Bele and Lokai, and we'll chase each other forever.
Yes.
But here's an interesting little side piece. Apparently, when Bele and Lokai first appear on the bridge, they were overshadowing Shatner, and Shatner complained to Judd Taylor and stormed off the set. This is through Walter Koenig, and he said that he heard Judd Taylor screaming at Shatner, "Get your ass back here!" But that's basically, I find that hilarious. But eventually Judd Taylor went out, and they are standing all there, up there. But that's the end of this episode. I still enjoy it. Our next episode that's upcoming is The Mark of Gideon. We continue with our social stories over here. Let's just say deals with population control, The Mark of Gideon. And we are more than halfway through the last season of the original series. I'm actually looking for. I know Mike's looking forward to it. Then we have the animated series and our live stuff coming up.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. I am kind of looking forward to the animated series because I've just not seen that, and I am curious to see, what Gene Roddenberry did. Gene Roddenberry write those?
He had his hand in parts of it. Actually, Walter Koenig wrote some as well, too. The stories are short because they're Saturday morning half-hour cartoons.
Hooray!
Yeah, but what's actually makes them fill out more is Alan Dean Foster, one of the writers of the books for Star Trek, like James Blish. He fleshed out the stories a lot more. So they're called the Star Trek logs. And they actually fills it on in. But the stories on their own, they actually stand up pretty well. And once you get past the filmation animation, it's actually a lot of the stories have some nice high concepts for a Saturday morning cartoon. And I used to watch them all the time when I was, 4 and 5.
Just a little sneak peek of the future. What is Filmation animation like? I know that it looks cheap.
Yes.
Does it just not? Is it not traditional cell animation?
No, it is. It's not the traditional. It's cell animation, but it's like single cell, so they have a lot of repeated shapes and movements. Again, it's to save money. Things they did to save on special effects are apparent, and they reuse scene after scene after scene again and again. It's like if you see an old He-Man, which is also Filmation, or you see Tarzan, I believe that's also a Filmation. They actually move in this when they're running in a certain way. They always look to have the same position. So things like that to save a buck. But it's very well done. And one of the other things is that the colors seem off because the producers of it just didn't like the original Star Trek colors. So they just changed things here and there whenever the hell they felt like it. So you'll see things like the colors pink appear more often in this. But the good thing about the animation is because you didn't have to rely on sets, you could be more creative with the alien species. And I could tell you there is one alien species. It's not really ruining it as the Kazin. I don't know if you know the Man Kazin Wars by Larry. Okay, well that's a science fiction series. And Larry Niven was a big fan of Star Trek, so they kind of wrote him in. So you'll wrote his and stuff. So you'll see that coming on up, and a whole bunch of other things. Mike has a live action thing coming up soon. We're going to have a breakdown of a scene. Mike is excited about that, and we're getting that all filmed up.
The aesthetics of Star Trek.
The aesthetics of Star Trek, and we're going to also finally get to our tricorder thing and a whole bunch of other stuff coming up. So as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification for when you want to hear about our next episodes coming up. And also shoot us a line at sending us an email at yellingatgas@gmail.com. And stop by our TeePublic t-shirts or buy some merch. Mike, anything else you want to add? Or
Nope. Great time as always, Captain. Even if this was a 6 and not the number on top of 6, because I refuse to say that line. So yes, great to connect with you again, and we press forward on our journey through the galaxy.
Yes, as always, it's a great time to be spending with you, XO. And as always, everyone, we'll see you on the next episode. Live long and prosper, and we'll see you out there.
Do you guys have a self-destruct code like destruct sequence 1A, 2B, 3?
Thanks a lot, Decay. Now everybody knows.